Good afternoon, councillors, town clerk, management, and members of the Fourth Estate. This afternoon, in my brief comments, I think on behalf of all of us, I need to make an apology to the residents of our city in respect of two issues. The first, as we all know, particularly those in high-density suburbs, in the course of the last month since we last met, many residents have received sporadic water. Some residents have not received water for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. And whilst we have met in a special committee meeting, council meeting, to resolve these issues, the residents still need an apology. It has been, as we all know, a convergence of factors that have combined together, despite the best efforts of our water engineers and our workers. We hope that these issues have been resolved, but we apologize to residents for that. It has not been due to lack of diligence on behalf of our staff, but it brings home the fact that, as we have all agreed in our budget, water is our number one pressing issue. And we need to have added urgency in securing our short, medium, and long-term goals to address the water situation. Tied into that, of course, is the sewerage issue. And even this morning, I had reports from one of you regarding sewerage leaks right in people's homes, which is, of course, is tied to the shortage of water. But we also need those solutions. One of the things that has happened, as the town clerk knows, is that last week we had an approach from an Indian company which has proposed new solutions. It's very early days, but certainly what they tell us they've done in India sounds very exciting. And so I hope that we can enter into agreements with companies that can employ cutting-edge technology to rehabilitate our sewage systems. But that is the number one apology. The second apology relates to our failure to collect rubbish in the course of the last 2 to 3 weeks. As councillors will know, right across the city, our city is reverting to, quite frankly, the tip that it was 2 years ago. And that is a direct consequence of us not being able to collect rubbish. I'm advised that the 4 brand new vehicles that we took possession of not too long ago, because they were all bought at the same time, all required the same service. Because they, as you know, with new vehicles, they get to a certain hours or certain kilometers, and they require that first service. And that meant that those vehicles were out of commission. On top of that, another 11 older vehicles are out of commission awaiting repairs. But the net result of that is that our entire cleansing department, as we probably all know, only had 3 vehicles. And that has led to the appalling situation which prevails. We apologize to residents. The town clerk assures me that these vehicles are now going to be serviced quickly, and that every effort will be made through procurement to ensure that the other vehicles as well get back on the road. But until that happens, we ask for patience from residents. And in particular, we ask that residents do not leave their rubbish out in the street, where dogs and other wild animals can break them open. It becomes a lot more difficult for our cleansing department to collect rubbish which is strewn across the road than which is left in plastic bags. And so we ask that residents play their own role until we manage to get on top of that. With those preliminary remarks, I ask the town clerk to call the meeting to order.
Councillors of the City of Bulawayo, management, esteemed stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen of the meeting. The legal question being confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 1st of October 2025 and the special meeting held on the 7th of October 2025 attached here as Annex A to O. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, town clerk. Can I have a mover for the minutes?
Fine.
Thank you. We're having technological challenges here. Excuse me, could you get that functioning? Right, would the chair of Future Water please move?
Your Worship, I move that the report of the Future Water Supplies and Water Action Committee meeting held on the 7th of October 2025 is submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein after be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any debate?
Yes.
Yes, sir. What item?
Item 2 on water delivery. Thank you, Worship, for capturing very well the sentiments of the residents. I also want to speak to the anguish that our residents went through in the past few weeks. We need to show the residents that we are sensitive to their plight, especially when some of the residents went up to close their land without receiving water. But however, as was explained by our engineering department, we know what was happening. The updates were coming through the TC's office. There was an upgrade at Mzingwane pump. It was a necessary evil because unless we deal with our obsolete infrastructure, unless we deal with our old pumps, we are always going to encounter this problem. We need to commend the Water and Sanitation Department, the engineers, because my understanding, when you look at this report, they are dealing with a pump which has been there for more than 50 years, if not 60 years. No other engineers, no other engineering department ever dared to touch that pump. It was an old pump and it had to get this upgrade so that its capacity is improved. So I think that I stand here, Your Worship, to appreciate that exercise. Yes, we had the challenges when the pump was test run. There were challenges with the transformer, which had its limitations, and it further exacerbated our situation of water restoration. When we do that one and also go to Inyapu, deal with the work that is still outstanding, I think we are going to be good to go, and perhaps we are going to return to the happy days again. Thank you.
Thank you. What item?
Thank you very much, Your Worship, for the opportunity. I would like to compare with Councillor Emily. We would like to appreciate the department for their efforts in trying to fix the water challenge that has been troubling people of Bulawayo over cut SC. But most fundamentally, what was important was their response time and their communication that they did to the residents. It was very important because most often we are being misinterpreted as a city that maybe probably we don't care about what the residents are going through in terms of water. So I would like to appreciate the department which is capable led by engineer Kwanele. I believe and feel like this council have to relook strategically in terms of empowering her so that she executes her duties effectively.
But most importantly, Your Worship, we are having a challenge of money. I think that fact has to come out to the residents very clear. We are repairing pumps and pipes just to go to the abnormal normal, the new normal that we have, the 130-hour load injecting of water, which is not normal. And for us to go back to a normal situation as Bulawayo, we need money. So I think also the conversation must be strictly directed to the strategic engagements externally with the government to ensure that they respond to equal of Bulawayo, because it's very difficult and it's becoming unfair for us to come here and make proper resolutions. If you see the report from the Future Water, they have clear strategies, short term, medium term, and long term, but they need money. So I think the residents have to know that this is where we are as a council, and we are trying by all means to ensure that we engage the government. If it cares about the people of Bulawayo, I think they have to avail themselves and assist us in the issue of water. Thank you so much.
If there's no further debate, can we move that? Thank you. Right. Would Chair of Health, or whoever's standing in for her, thank you, ma'am. Please move the report.
I move that the report of the Health, Housing and Education Committee meeting held on the 14th of October as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Is there a second for that? Thank you. Any debate? Yes, ma'am. What item?
First item, Your Worship, energy. As I was reading through the report, I realized that the department is having challenges with they are having challenges with litter around areas where they are illegal venting. So my question was, as I was reading through the recommendations, I thought maybe I will see how they intend to get rid of the problem that they have at hand. But in their recommendations, there is nothing. So I think in our next meeting when we should come with recommendations so that we know how we move forward. Thank you.
Same item, Your Worship. Your Worship, disappointed really about the vehicle situation in this department, because the report says out of 20 vehicles which are supposed to be functional, only 8 are running. For me, that is quite awful. And I think by now we should have done something. We've always talked about tools of trade so that we have efficiency in this department. And the other 12 are said to be in the workshops. And the question that keeps coming is to say, do we really have workshops that have the capacity to do their work? Because if we are going to have 12 vehicles off the road, to such an extent that we end up getting reports that some areas are not going to have litter collected, as we saw. The downtime of those trucks in the workshops is unacceptable. I think we need to revisit our workshops and see whether they really have capacity. If it's not capacity, is it the equipment that they are using? Are the workshops fully equipped to service those trucks? Or is it issues again of procurement? But from 2023, when we came in, it was the same, broken record. Tools of trade. Can we really up our game in terms of making sure that the vehicles or the trucks are available to this department? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Worship. Item 1, our litter A. I'd like to propose that we review upwards our litter fines. This council is engaged bilaterally with Victoria Falls, for example. Victoria Falls has got fines of up to $100. I think there's no excuse for us to review those fines upwards. They are local authorities just like us, actually smaller than us. So I'd like to propose that this committee look into reviewing fines for litter upwards.
I second what Councillor Bumoye said, but also taking into consideration, we need to also review and investigate whether we doing enough manpower for those who monitor and assisting us in terms of
ukubopha izakhamizi ezilahla esigabeni at what level. So it also speaks to something that we need to look into, because most of the times I think our bylaws are very clear, but the enforcement agents, I think we are not that adequate enough. So it's something that we need to look into, but I really second this motion.
I just want to respond, if there's no further debate, to both of those items. Firstly, on the issue of procurement, and it's one of the downsides of these full council meetings, that the public don't get the benefit of hearing from management. So I'll try and give the public the benefit of what management has told me. That historically, for example, our workshops had a wide range of spares, so that when vehicles or Bowsers came in, those spares were readily available and there'd be a very quick turnaround time. Now, because of the procurement regulations, it's a cumbersome process and it's hard to have the same stock level of spares. And that has directly related, for example, what's happened to the cleansing department, where vehicles go down and then you have to go through the whole procurement process to get the spares. And while you're going through that process, the vehicle is down and refuse isn't collected. It's not a policy issue, it's a management issue. The town clerk is here, he knows the problems. Management knows the problems, but clearly we have to try and adjust that so that we can anticipate this and have a better level, stock level of spares too, so that we can get a much quicker turnaround time. Secondly, Councillor Nkomo, regarding fines, councillors may have seen since we last met that I posted an incident where a businessman in the city was caught red-handed dumping on Cecil Avenue, a local businessman, and another resident photographed the vehicle. I reported that to the cleansing department, and the cleansing department was able to trace the number and the owner, and it turned out to be a fairly well-known businessman dumping in our city with no excuse. And it illustrates this problem. And although he was tracked down and he paid a $30 fine, the $30 fine bears no relation to the offense. No relation to the offense whatsoever. It's no deterrent, particularly to these building companies. If you go out the old Gwanda Road or to Bulawayo, immediately outside our boundaries, you will be horrified when you see the amount of dumping from construction companies, companies that should know better, that are taking financial shortcuts. And if we fine them $30, that's a fine worth paying. It's actually cheaper for them to pay the fine than to have to go to a proper dump site. Now, I can understand a $30 fine being an appropriate fine for someone who chucks a plastic bottle. That hurts an unemployed person or a young person to fine $30, but it doesn't hurt the owner of a vehicle who's dumping like this. And what I'd like to endorse what you're saying. I think we need a thorough review of this. I'd like to see, for example, a fine of not less than $300 for someone who uses a vehicle and dumps. That, in that way, they may think twice about dumping. And so I heartily commend the councillors and and completely endorse and ask that the committee look at this as a matter of urgency and come back to us with recommendations. Would the chair like to respond?
Thank you, Chair. I think all concerns and comments are noted. Then for fines, we will seek legal advice if we are able to raise fines. Thank you.
Would the chair of Townlands please move the report? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Worship. I move that the report of the Townlands and Planning Committee meeting held on the 21st of October 2025 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, ma'am. Any debate? No debate? Thank you. We move the reports. Chair of Finance or Deputy Chair, would you?
I think that the report of the Finance and Development Committee meeting held on the 28th of October 2025 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Apologies, Deputy Chair. We were having technological difficulties here. It's actually myself to move. So I moved the report of the General Purposes Committee meeting held on the 27th of October. Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you. Is there any debate? Thank you. Right, Deputy Chair, it's now your turn. No, we haven't. Can we have a seconder? We have to go through that process. A seconder of the finance report, please. So you move it?
I
you
move.
second. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, you've seconded. Okay.
The chair. I apologize for the confusion, but we have moved and seconded this.